If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims.
Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Giles Thomas. Thriving in startup business ventures, he has demonstrated his commercial acumen and strategic management expertise in the 20 plus years he has spent in management roles. And he's also an awesome soccer coach. I just have to add that.
Thanks,
and a great dad. Having worked with multifunctional roles across North America, Europe, and Africa. In 2015, he founded Baobab Wines as an importer of South African wines, offering the American consumer wines of both exceptional quality and value. Welcome, Giles.
Thanks, Carissa. What a great introduction.
Tell me about yourself and where you grew up.
So I was born in Zambia, which many people probably don't know, but it's a country in sub-Saharan Africa. So southern tip of Africa, you have South Africa, and two countries above that is a company called Zambia. So I was born there and raised there for the most part. Born in a little town called Livingston, which is home to Victoria Falls, which is one of the seven wonders of the world. And then we moved from there up to a town called Lusaka, where my family farmed and still farm a little crocodile farm, actually, just outside the city there.
Yeah. So a crocodile farm, how does that work?
So they set that up in the mid 1980s, and the idea is for hides ultimately, so that the leather that comes from the crocodile.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So at the time there was an overpopulation of crocodiles in the area, and then subsequently they've actually been classified as endangered. So the farm actually works to grow crocodiles. It's Nile crocodiles there, and they rear the crocodiles, sell the hides for skin, and then or leather products, and then they also put a certain percentage of those crocodiles back into the wilds as well, to help sort of make sure the populations are maintained.
Oh, wonderful. And did you grow up going to Victoria Falls all the time? I mean, what were you like as a child? Were you allowed to explore just anywhere in the area?
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, so we left Victoria Falls when I was quite young, but it was a very outdoor environment. I mean, we grew up in a farming community where it was dirt roads, and certainly when we first set up the farm, it was like wild animals running through, and it was very much kind of an outdoor lifestyle, and grab a fishing rod and go and fish or whatever else you want to do, and then a very much a farming community. So walking to our next door neighbors to play with them would be like a mile walk down a dirt road or through the bush to go and play with them. So yeah, very outdoors, very rural upbringing.
Oh, interesting. Do you ever miss that life, or do you bring that life to your kids through travel and everything?
Yeah, I mean, we try to. I mean, to be honest, it's one of the main reasons we moved to Colorado. So
Okay.
my wife's American, but she grew up in the Chicago area, and when we got married and we spent time there, I could never imagine myself living in a big city environment. I think Colorado gives you that fantastic array of like being on the cusp of a major city and close to an international airport, but in 20 minutes you can be out in the wilds and doing a hike where you don't see anyone else for a few hours, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Did you ever serve in the South African Army?
I did not know. So I actually maintain a British passport.
Okay.
Although I was born in Zambia, my parents are British, and it was only single nationality. So I opted for a British passport when I was 18, as opposed to a Zambian passport. So I avoided national service, which was probably a good thing.
Yes, I would say so. That's wonderful. Was there any chaos going around you growing up? Any violence or things happening politically that you were aware of?
Zambia was a relatively peaceful country, I would
Okay.
say. So we were under one-party democracy at the time. It was a dictatorship, so to speak. It was a very peaceful dictatorship. So there was a few coup attempts when I was growing up, but nothing too serious. They just closed down the city for a few days, and none of them were successful. I think that the
Mhm.
biggest thing for me growing up was it was a very poor country. So I always
Okay.
tell stories to people that we would drive 4 hours for an ice cream and cross a border. So Zimbabwe at the time was the breadbasket of Africa and more affluent. So we would spend a lot of time sort of going down to Zimbabwe for recreational activities and just to get things that we couldn't get back home. But
Hmm.
it's simple things like there was no bread, no milk, no sugar. So it was definitely a poorer country. We were pretty self-sufficient on the farm, but certainly the luxuries we would have to go overseas for. Um, and then obviously with South Africa being just south of us as well, where we spent a lot of time, was also under the apartheid regime at the time. So that was kind of an interesting environment to grow up in as well.
Yeah, I bet. That's fascinating. And then how did you lose part of your leg?
So that was actually so I started with my life with a birth defect.
Hmm.
So when I was born, I had a shortened femur and a missing fibula, which required sort of immediate surgery. So from the time I was born, I always wore prosthetic devices because it was like
Oh, so it's just
what
part of the way all you've known all your life.
pretty much so. Yeah, I mean the big difference for me was that as I grew up with that, I guess deformity, for want of a better word, it was getting harder and harder to have prosthetics fit me. So then when I was 16, I took the option to have the leg amputated. So what I
Hmm.
did have, I decided to take a year off school and just go through the amputation surgery. And then since then, it just enables a better use of prosthetics and sort of more makes me more able-bodied to do things like I have a blade so I can go running. I have like other things that just kind of make me more able-bodied than I would have been without the amputation.
Oh, that's fascinating. And did the doctors suggest that?
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of theories at the time. Medical
Mhm.
advancements have come on so far. I mean, I think if I was born now, they would probably amputate at birth. But
Yeah.
certainly when I was under 10, they wanted to take the whole leg off. And that would have been a mistake because the knee is such a critical component and I have a functioning knee. So I think, waiting that time and then sort of getting third, fourth, fifth opinions. And in the end, just going for that below knee amputation was definitely a lot better. And I don't think I could run if I didn't have a knee. So yeah, you
Wow.
just kind of listen to doctor's advice and there's risks with amputation as well. So I do get some phantom pains and things. So
Hmm.
they never know exactly what an amputation is going to lead to. But luckily, mine's been relatively good, and certainly having a scheduled amputation rather than losing a leg through injury or accident, I think is a lot more. The doctors can do a lot more for you.
Hmm. Yeah. And do you feel like maybe it was less traumatizing because you were expecting it? It wasn't all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it was definitely scheduled and something I was preparing. I think the hardest time for me was probably the age it happened. Um,
Mhm.
so I remember leaving. I was leaving what would be the equivalent of high school at the time, and I didn't want to tell any of my friends. So I just told everyone I was going away for a year. It wasn't something I really wanted to share with people, so I kind of went through it on my own with my family, just to go through the actual process of amputation because I just knew that I was going to be pretty much unable to be active and do things I would normally do with friends for sort of a 6 month period.
Hmm.
So I guess it was in some ways, I think it changed me as a person,
Oh.
um, but certainly not as traumatic as being involved in an accident where you wake up one day with being able-bodied and later that day you're without your limbs. I
Mhm.
think at times that can be a lot more traumatic for an individual to cope with.
Yeah, and I think it's so fascinating. I've had friends, I'm an occupational therapist, and I've had friends that worked in OMP and prosthetics. And I was involved with Robin Williams and the Challenged Athletes Foundation
Okay.
and did many triathlons with challenged athletes and with what do you call the prosthetic where you can run?
At the blade.
The blade. Those are amazing. I mean, just these athletes, I feel like sometimes they're faster than people with regular legs. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they had the whole thing with Oscar Pistorius, who's obviously disgraced now, but he obviously campaigned to race in the normal Olympics, and they were trying to stop him because they thought that his blades gave him advantages, and wanted to keep him into the Paralympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting. It's we actually through the company we sponsor a organization in South Africa called Jumping Kids, and that gives prosthetic devices to children who wouldn't otherwise have access to prosthetic devices at all, and through that, like, encourage athleticism as a reward for schoolwork and school achievement. And they've actually just had 3 athletes compete in the Paralympics that just finished, and one of the youths that we got very involved with just won 2 golds.
Oh my gosh, you must be so proud. That's so exciting.
It's a great thing. Yeah, and it's just watching them compete. And I mean, Ntando, who won these 2 golds, when we first met him, he was in a wheelchair and never walked, and he was 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And here he is at the age of 18, winning 2 gold medals at the Paralympics, and it just shows you that what a prosthetic device can give someone
yes.
who otherwise would just be non-functional as a human being, can become like a top athlete.
Oh my gosh, that is so incredible that you're able to do that with your success. And in the past, so just talking about your business history, what other businesses have you been a part of before you started the wine company?
I had a pretty corporate career. So I left Zambia after university and moved up to West Africa. So I foolishly decided that for my degree I would study African studies because I was just passionate about Africa. And so I studied sort of eco and political development, and then left university and realized that wouldn't lead to a job in any way, shape, or form. So I actually took a job doing ships agency and running freight into the gold mines in West Africa for a few years. And then from there I moved to East Africa, doing similar kind of projects, not necessarily in mining, but in other industries. And from there got involved in telecommunications. And telecommunications in Africa was pretty much non-existent. So we had something like less than 1% telephony penetration across the whole continent prior to cell phones. And we got involved sort of really in the early days of cell phone rollouts across Africa.
Wow, how exciting.
It was fantastic. Yeah. So I worked for a company called Vodacom, which was owned by Vodafone. We used to have an involvement in Verizon as well. Uh-huh. And through them, I worked across Africa for most of my career, sort of doing the logistics and supply chain operations to run the infrastructure into Africa to roll out all the cell phone towers and all the sort of infrastructure for that. And then also getting mobile phones out and implementing distribution mechanisms to use the old, getting scratch cards out there to actually get cell phone use into the cities primarily, and then from there into rural areas, which was great. Going to areas that hardly have a road and you're giving them telephones. It was a pretty fascinating time. So yeah, that was pretty much my corporate career. And then,
that's great. And then what made you want to start your company, Baobab Wines?
I was really just I think we had young children. We were based in South Africa prior to leaving, and we had young children, and my wife was very keen to move back to the US, and it was obviously a great opportunity to raise our children here and good schooling and everything else. And just moving here, I just really didn't feel that I could continue the career that I had, and wanted to set up something fresh. And from there, it was kind of like 10, 15 years of moving back, coming back to the US on vacations, and always meeting my wife's family and friends and telling them about this great wine from South Africa. And then you'd go to the local store and try and find a bottle, and it was just non-existent. It either wasn't here, or the bottles that they had were kind of not necessarily the wines that we would drink back home. And it's great value for money. It's a fascinating region where wine comes from. It's the 7th largest producer in the world, 400-year wine growing history. So really, it's like almost as historical and profound as like a France or Italy. And for some reason, America just hadn't heard of it. So that was where the idea sort of came from. Well, why don't we set up a business to import and distribute South African wines when we move here? And so that was pretty much what we did, which was. It's been an interesting challenge.
Did you do it with your wife? Are you business partners?
Yeah, she's heavily involved. She has a job, So someone had to keep payroll coming in and keep medical insurance coming in while we were while we were sort of setting up the business. And so she still does have a business, a job outside of the business, but we're both, it's a family business.
It's a
we're
family
both very heavily involved. Well, it's alcohol, so it's limited how much the kids can get involved.
Right. But they can learn the business side or the sales side. But also it's an amazing story. What's the meaning behind the name?
So Baobab is it's an African tree. Well, it actually grows across the southern hemisphere, so you find them in Australia as well. But it's primarily an African tree that grows sort of West Africa down into southern Africa, and it's kind of like a tree of life. So the Baobab tree to a community is something that gives you everything. It's prehistoric. It goes back to sort of prehistoric times. It's a very old tree. It grows sort of hundreds of years old, and it's very big, robust. There's actually some trees examples on our website, but it's kind of like something that is a tree of life. So it gives you the bark could be used for clothes. It has a fruit that has like some of the best antioxidants, vitamin C content in the world. It can offer a shade. You can actually drill water from it. You can live inside it if you carve a hole in it. So from an African community viewpoint, they say, well, if you have a baobab, you can pretty much live off that tree. And again, it's just that idea of community and bringing people together. And so we named it Baobab Wines just for the same reason that, a bottle of wine can bring people together. And a bottle of wine can kind of like just act as a piece of community. And it was just really important for me to bring a piece of Africa to America and a story with it.
Oh, I love it. I love that story.
But everyone struggles to pronounce it. So.
Yeah. When did you meet your wife and how did you meet?
So we met in London, actually. I was visiting London between jobs and just wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. And I met my wife. She was working for American Express there. And it was kind of like a bit of a love at first sight kind of thing. And I was
like on the street or something?
We met in a bar, as you do in London.
A bar,
okay. In a pub. And we started dating, and it was just one of those things that sort of felt right. And then I was just kind of like, well, I'm moving back to Africa. Are you going to come with me? And she was like, and she said, not a chance of that happening. So I had to make a decision there whether to stay in London or return to Africa. So then I took a job in London. I stayed in London for another year, 18 months, something like that. And then asked her to marry me and posed the question again, would you be interested in coming out to Africa? And at that point she said yes. So from there,
great.
We moved to Mozambique. We lived in Mozambique for a few years and then moved to South Africa and lived there for a few years. And then when the children came along, we decided to move here.
Oh, beautiful.
But it was nice for me to have her experience some time in Africa. I think she really appreciates the opportunity and the time there as well.
I bet. And really to feel that sense of home and community and where you're from, right? Your origins.
Yeah, and just having the children born there as well. I mean, even the children haven't been back now for 4 years, but they still feel very much like it's part of their life and part of their heritage, which is nice as well.
That's amazing. And maybe someday you'll go back, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the idea, again, when we set up the business, we said, well, it'd be great because we spend half the time in South Africa and half the time in America. That's probably not realistic, but it's still a dream.
Yeah. Well, someday maybe. And how is it balancing being an entrepreneur and a dad?
Very challenging. And I would say even harder over the last year and a half, like it has been for everyone. I mean, I think the benefit is the ability to balance your time. I don't have a boss telling me where to be, but I do have customers telling me where to be. But you are able to kind of like balance your time. If you need to do a 10-hour workday, a 12-hour workday, you could do that at any time. So it does enable me to, pick up the kids for soccer practice. And, when they were home for COVID, you just kind of rearrange your day around schooling and sort of and the business. So it's a challenge, but I think it's in some ways it's less challenging than if you're trying to hold down a corporate job. I feel very I feel for the people over the last year who, both parents had corporate jobs, and then you suddenly got kids at home and you're trying to work from home, and the demands of a business, I think, is a lot more challenging than if you are your own boss and you're able to sort of balance that time out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good point. And how did you notice that your business changed after COVID? What shifted?
I think it's been an interesting time. So it's kind of we operate in about 22 states currently, and some states were more retail focused than restaurant focused. So in Colorado, for example, we're very retail focused. So business was incredibly good in Colorado as people drove more and more to sort of
That's what
retail
I was
buy.
wondering.
But in other markets,
yeah,
like we have Chicago, where we were 90% restaurant driven, and that business just completely dried up and it hasn't come back yet. So it was a balance, I would say, between the two. But the other thing we do a lot of consumer facing events, because we represent wine, lesser known. We do a lot of like in-store tastings and wine dinners and consumer tasting events, and that's just been non-existent for the last 2 years. So just trying to introduce people to our products and introduce them, because generally people taste our product, they know that it's as good as anywhere else and it's cheaper, and it's we're very clean in the way we make it, so we're very naturally driven with no additives, no added sugars, no dyes or anything else. So I think once people actually know that they can get a bottle of wine from us that tastes good, that's affordable, that's naturally made, that's organic, that's vegan, that's all the things that you want it to be, and isn't made in the factory, it's made in the farm, then they can get behind the product. But when you can't have that experience and that exposure, it makes it a little bit harder to get that messaging across.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
We did a lot of Zoom.
Zoom.
which was kind of painful, and it's never the same, right? So we would send wine bottles out and do these Zoom events and try and explain things to people. But I think that worked pretty well early pandemic, and I think people got zoomed out and were less interested sort of towards the back end of last year, and this year I think people are definitely not interested. That's been a challenge, I would say. But yeah, definitely Zoom in the early days, and whatever else we can do to help retailers get our message across through emailers and newsletters. I mean, the restaurants have really not come back for us yet. The restaurants are still very, very heavily reliant, I think, on the bigger companies and the bigger brands, because they're very nervous about what's going to happen to them, which is understandable. So we're still pretty retail focused right now.
Yes, that makes sense. Have you ever thought about a video experience, like offering that to these brands and showing it to people through a quick video?
We've done a little bit. We're actually just running a promotion now on Instagram, which is like 1 minute videos, bits and pieces,
cool.
to try and give people that quick exposure.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the challenge we have in a lot of that is that it's such a competitive space right now, social media, and you have to have something that's really highly produced, or have someone very charismatic who can get that message across. Otherwise, you just get lost in the noise, right? And there's so much like really good content out there now. I think you can't just put anything out there and people are going to watch it and notice it. You've got to really be on top of your game.
You have to have a strategy and be intentional. Well, what's next for you in your life or business?
I think expansion is key to us. We do that. We launched a new brand last year called Kamusha Wines, which is made by Tanashi Yamandoko. And his story is fantastic. He just released a movie as well that won the Best Audience Award at Tribeca Film Festival.
Oh my God, that's so exciting! And you're representing the wine. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's a gentleman from Zimbabwe. So when Zimbabwe went through some turmoil, a lot of refugees left Zimbabwe, went and moved to South Africa, and he was one of them who sort of left Zimbabwe to South Africa with nothing but the shirt on his back, and then got a job as a waiter and worked his way up from being the waiter to the top sommelier in South Africa. And then he just recently left that to develop the Kamusha brand. And we brought that through to the US last year, and that's been a massive success for us. It's in 20 states currently, so we're really focusing now on how we can expand the presence of Kamusha and just tell more people about Tinashe's story, because it's a fascinating story, and I think it's relevant to a lot of people about how you can make something of yourself out of nothing.
Yes.
So that's definitely a key focus for us. We're also developing a couple of other internal brands as well that kind of can just help tell the story a little bit easier about why you should be drinking South Africa and why it's good, and just try and get that messaging through a little bit more on the package, so people can see it when they see the package. So a lot of brand development there, a lot of sort of further development and exposure into the United States, just growing things out more on a national footprint basis. So that's on the professional side. I think there's some other projects we're working on, which is just to promote African American trade. There's still, I think, a lot more trade that could be done between Africa and America. So there's some other projects we're trying to work on in the background as well, just to encourage that trading relationship, and for people just to know that some of the stuff that comes out of Africa is great. And then I guess on the personal side, just continue trying to raise my children and see if my son's soccer team can be better this year.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's been so great connecting with you and learning more about your business. And it's so exciting what's next. I mean, with your wine business growing and your family. So thanks for joining me here today, Giles.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity and your time. It's great chatting.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen Success journey. And join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.
With the state of today's economy, it's more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made from the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back in your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality, made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.